Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, and it's filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom for us to explore. You know, I've been thinking recently about doing a program or show around this idea of our stupid stories. That would be the title. And the idea is like, we are constantly being communicated with, and we often tell ourselves stupid stories, and those stupid stories revolve around other people. So we look out at the world and see the things that we're supposed to see in ourselves. We're supposed to look at in ourselves. So when we look out at the world and we say, oh, look at the greed of all those people. All right, well, if that's my argument, and I get rid of those people, and I say those people are reflections of me, where in my life am I being greedy? Where is there greed? Where am I pulling up this greed? And what can I do about it? Where am I if I'm so like you're, if my argument is, you're not grateful? Where in my life am I not being grateful? How can I take this message of my trigger, and look at myself? And that's really, throughout the Tao, we see that. We see this self-reflection. We see it come up time and time again. And I'm not thinking of any right now, unfortunately. I'm not thinking of any specific words. It's like there is one that's on the tip of my tongue. I can't recall it. But when we correct our own actions, let me go to that one. I'm going to say correct. This is correct. Maybe? No. Correct her. No, that's not it. I'm looking for a specific verse. Yeah, this is fine. Number 61. 61 will be nice. We'll look at 61 a little bit because so much of when we want to follow Tao, when we want to live a good life, when we want life to be easy, we have to recognize that it's sort of in our hands. It's totally in our hands to allow life to be easy. Because so many people come to me and they'll ask the question, well, what do I do? And I'm like, well, what is it? What are you thinking? What do you, and they're like, but I'm a victim of this or this or that. And the ultimate thing is we all want to be great. Not in the eyes of others. Some of us want to be great in the eyes of others. But we all want to be great in our own lives. Why wouldn't we be? Why wouldn't we want that? I mean, how many of us are running around going, I want to be I want to be a slob. I want to be, maybe you happen to be a slob. I might be a slob sometimes, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the judging of it can go out the window when you're great, right? And the verse that I'm going to read today, the verse that I'm going to visit, is number 61, being great. And we'll read it. And now start going through it line by line. And although I love a monologue, actually I don't, but, and I love to just go through the Tao and talk about it. But that's, that's me doing the thing. I always love to connect with people. So if anybody wants to come up and pick a number, oh, good. Spring Blossom's going to join me. Always such a pleasure. Hey, how's your evening going?
Hey, I'm good.
Good. I'm so glad. It's good to connect with you. It's been a chatted, like on here.
What was that?
It's been a little while since we've chatted on here.
Yeah, ages, because I've been out of range and it's late when you come on.
Yeah, it's late.
11 o'clock at night.
Right. Yeah, I'd be in bed. I would, if I were you, I would never hear me. I'm early to bed kind of guy, but I'm so glad that you're with me. Are you hanging out outside? I heard some noises in the background.
I'm in my van, so
okay.
Yeah. I've been staying at a lake, and I've had a few days by myself, and it's been very peaceful.
Oh, so good.
And I had a swim in the lake today. This morning I got up and went and laid myself across the water with my toes in the air and my hands in the air. And I just lay there and look up at the sky and just feel blessed.
Oh, you are. It's beautiful. So what's going on? You're out there at the lake. You've been spending some time in solitude. It sounds a little bit.
Well, I did need it. I needed solitude so bad. I was having a lot of distractions from other people, and it was sending me crazy, and just a lot of things were happening that I wanted to change, and I felt so powerless about it. And I needed time alone just to focus in on what it was that was going wrong in my life.
Yeah. When we, so this is cyclical for a lot of people, where it's like you need to focus on yourself, and yet as soon as that happens, everybody comes out of the woodwork wanting you to focus on them.
Yeah, well, it wasn't quite like that, but it was, in a sense, a feeling of neediness in me that was really hard to come to terms with and recognize.
Right. Well, that's what, that's the experience. But, that's the experience is, oh, I need you now. And I need, and to just be aware of that is a huge step.
There were so many, Martin John, there were so many ways that I felt that I needed this, I needed that, needed all, and it was really, it was becoming so conscious that I realized. And what happened was my friend over in Sweden sent me a message, and I'd sent to her, will I come over to Sweden and visit you? And she said, I haven't got, look, I don't know where you'll stay, and I like being by myself, so I'm not with people very often, and if I sat down and had a cup of tea with you at my house, after an hour and a half I'd have nothing to say, and I don't know what to do, so you'd have to stay somewhere else, and all this sort of thing. And
wow.
it was really kind of a shock to me. And this is my husband, who I was married to for 4 years in my 20s. It was his daughter. And, she lives alone in Sweden. And anyway, so I thought about what she was saying to me, and I realized that she was right, that she had every right to be, not wanting to have anybody. And she said, I don't need anybody. I don't like people. I only like children and all this sort of stuff. And it was full on. And, it twigged me, and I started thinking about it. And then I started seeing all this neediness in me. And I thought, this is in my way. This is stopping me from having a reasonable life. And I need to do something. And then my friend, she kind of ran away from me because I went crook at her for telling me what to do. And
Yeah,
and she
that'll
didn't
happen.
like me. She didn't like me. She didn't like me telling her that I didn't want her to tell me what to do. And then I said to her dog sitting next to us in the car, I said, "She's my teacher, you know." And I think she took offence. But in a sense, it was time for us not to be in each other's company.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and sometimes those things pass, and sometimes they're permanent, and so who cares?
That's right.
Who cares?
That's right.
Like, you love her. You love her.
Yeah.
She loves you. This is just she may, and you may not be able to see through the breakup, quote unquote, to see the love you have for each other. And if not, well, that's unfortunate, but you do love each other.
And the other thing is that she did teach me that I was actually trying to put my thoughts onto somebody else. And I was being manipulative because I needed them to be what I wanted them to be. And I saw that so clearly from what she was doing to me. So it was the mirror, you know?
It's exactly it. And that's the thing. She's you. And then when you can just open your heart to that and be like, oh my God, so beautiful. And you're no longer in my life. And what a wonderful time we had together. Wow. Yeah. How awesome is that? And literally awesome. Like, right? Being in awe of the way your life is unfolding. Yeah. Because she, and you can see that her life is unfolding and you've contributed to that unfolding, or you were a mirror for her. So that experience can contribute to her growth. She was a mirror for you. She didn't do anything for you. And she didn't teach you. You learned through the experience of going through this with her, or going through this with that manifestation, like that manifest. And how awesome is that? Just to kind of be like, oh my God, I am in the presence, literally, of God, literally of Tao, literally of the universe in my own experience. Like, how amazing is that?
And you know, it was, and you're just going to do 61, aren't you?
I was, yeah.
And that's the one I picked yesterday.
Well, let's go through it together.
Oh, yeah, please.
This one's entitled "Being Great," and you just experienced, and you just told me about an experience you had in which you were able to touch that. You were able to kind of be great. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get praise. Doesn't mean people are gonna write books about you. It doesn't mean, but all of that is stupid. Like, this experience is real. This experience is great. And what it says is, being great requires the ability to be humble. Not self-effacing, I want to add. Like, this is humble, like true humility. So as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. Attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attractive is to know oneself. All great beings realize when they err. Having realized it, they admit it and correct it to the best of their ability. The greatest beings seek out those who can help them identify their faults. They consider their enemy a part of themselves that requires attention. To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things. To not interfere or meddle in the errors of others. Wow, right? Right? Like, so, oh my God. Like, every point here is really giving us, like, it gives me goosebumps just to kind of go through this after what we talked about, right? So it starts with this idea: being great requires the ability to be humble. It requires the ability to be humble. If you do not have humility, if you don't have true humility, that doesn't mean self-effacing. That doesn't mean just letting someone walk all over you.
Walk
That
all
doesn't
over you.
mean
No.
yeah, right. This isn't humility in the way kind of this nouveau sort of feminism kind of talks about it, where it's, like there's a lot of places where this new idea, like there's no reason to be humble. And it's like, well, actually, there's no reason to be self-effacing. There's no reason to put yourself down. But when you're awesome and you present that, but you present that with humility, that doesn't mean making other people feel good. You don't have to make other people feel good. That's their problem. But when you can approach something with humility and understand that I'm having an experience and I have no idea the experience you're having. And because I have no idea the experience you're having, I have to step up to this experience with humility. So as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. If you get your dander in a bunch every time you have an experience that you attracted, because every experience you're having, you're the one that's attracted it. You're the one that is processing it in your own mind. You're the one that's telling the stupid story all about it. So as to receive that which is attracted with tranquility. When you're humble, you're like, oh, look at what I just attracted, right? You take responsibility. I attracted their words. Their words upset me. Ooh, I attracted that upset. I attracted that frustration. Attraction is the most primal of expressions. To receive that which is attractive is to know oneself. To realize that I'm the one that attracted this. And so that which I attracted is me. I am not a victim of what they're saying and what they're doing. I attracted this. And if I feel like an other, I attracted that. Maybe I'm othering other people. Maybe I'm othering myself. Whatever it is. But I've attracted this, and I'm responsible for having attracted it. We have to be humble in the face of that.
Yeah.
All great beings realize when they err. And that's being the victim, right? That's and realizing when we err can be on all sorts of stuff. Oh, my cake fell. All right, well, the best way for me to repair that is whatever I'm going to do, like make another cake or be quiet in the kitchen or whatever it is I have to do. I'm going to, having realized that they admit it and correct it to their best of their ability. And this is in relationships and in actions and in everything. You correct it, but you don't correct it to some abstract perfection. You correct it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And if that means apologizing, and if that means, oh, this relationship is over, I'm going to step away. Okay. Whatever it is you need to correct that, you do it to the best of your ability. The greatest beings seek out those who help identify their faults. That means the greatest beings seek out people who help them identify their errors so that they can correct it. They don't avoid people that point out their errors. And again, just like you said, you learned from her. She taught you, right? But she didn't actually teach you. You just learned through her. You're looking to learn about yourself through the experiences that you have.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, I know you're going to drop off soon, but I don't want you to go away just yet. So if you have another moment to come back up, that'd be great.
Sure.
To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things, and all things are related. So when you are centered in Tao, and when you realize this idea of being humble and attracting your experience, you will nourish her.
Yes.
And everything that you guys are connected to. And if she runs away and doesn't want to ever think about it again, you can still love and nourish her as all of that. And you just dropped off so you can come back up. To not interfere or meddle in the errors of others. So you don't want to tell her she's wrong. You just love her. And when she feels that, go on.
Want her to feel whatever it is she needs to feel.
Absolutely, because that's going to bring her to where she needs to go.
Absolutely. And as it brought me to the place I needed to be. And so I'm imagining it may happen for her or it may not happen for her. And that's okay too.
Absolutely. She could be angry for the rest of her life.
Absolutely.
Or she could shun herself and put herself out of everybody's life. That's absolutely fine. And you can just sit back, smile, and go, oh, I love you so much. And I'm going to keep my distance because I don't want to be, I don't want to be steamrolled in that. But I love you and, and I hold a place and I, and this idea, like I remember, one person condescendingly one time sent me an email. She was like, I wish you healing. And it's like, I don't wish you healing. If you get healing, you get healing. That's on you. But for me, it's like wishing you healing is like the idea that, oh, well, I hope you get this thing that I don't think you have. And it's like, what is that? Yeah. It's like just, I mean, and it was this whole like email about,
You're
like
kind
how
of
I'm a bad
dropping
person or
out.
whatever.
I'm missing a few words.
Am I? I'm missing a couple of years too. I don't know if that's my internet. I'll put on a backup.
It's okay now.
Okay, good. So
no, it's not. It's not your internet. It's my reception. It's very, very poor.
Okay. Well, because sometimes my internet does go out. So
yeah.
Yeah, and you're breaking
and
up
so
too. But
can you hear me now?
I gotcha.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm just going to say that with my ex's daughter in Sweden, I was able to communicate back to her that she was completely right.
Yeah.
that I really was needy, and that I was going to have some time out, and anyway, that then enriched her to say more, and she'd been working on her own issues, and she had broken through to a place where she was in amazing space, and she was able to convey that to me in a text, and it was just heartwarming, absolutely beautiful.
That's the thing. When we can just, when we realize this, when we realize this idea of humility, when we realize this idea of like, it's us, when we get to that place, it just invites people to be themselves in a way that they never knew. It's really amazing. It's like, this is a power. It's so powerful. Like the amount of energy and the amount of love that we put into the world just because we love ourselves, just because we respect this position that we find ourselves in humility, and be like, look, I am experiencing life. And this is when Tao talks about like making a living instead of just living, and doing that without anger that we were duped into doing it, right? Or we were like, you are making me do things that are not natural. It's just like, wait, no. I'm choosing to do things that are not natural because I'm under the influence of these other things. But once we respect ourselves and love ourselves to that degree, like it just rubs off on people. And people just start to love themselves around us. And sometimes they can only love themselves around us. And then as soon as they walk out of our aura, they turn back to the dark side or whatever, right? Like they turn back to judging and all of this stuff. But it's like, it's not my responsibility to get you anywhere. I'm not going to be around all the time. but it's this awareness and it's iteration, and you trust that they're going to be on their journey, and you love them so deeply just because of the journey that they're on.
Yeah. Hey, Martin John, would you read the second last sentence again?
Yeah, well, I'll read the second half and you let me know which part it is. All great beings realize when they err. Having realized it, they admit it and correct it to the best of their ability. The greatest beings seek out those who can help identify their faults. They consider their enemy a part of themselves that requires attention. To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things.
To nourish every related
all related things.
To nourish every related things.
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful and beautiful.
It's and the thing is there's only a couple words here, but what it says, first it said to be centered in Tao. We all know Tao is complicated to understand. There's no possible way to understand it simply with words. So what it's saying here is to be centered in this abstract, thing that we are all interacting with. And it's so paradoxical. It's not even abstract, right? It's present in us and obvious, and then it's also not. So it's this weirdness of what Tao is this kind of spiritual, woo-woo stuff. But it's to be centered in Tao is to nourish all related. This is your ability to center in Tao is to nourish all things because all things are related.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so your ability to center in Tao is going to help me, is going to nourish me.
Yeah.
You're going to nourish, the stray cats in Chile, right? You're going to nourish all the whatever. You're going to nourish, and this is the thing, we can't think that it's only going to nourish things that we support.
Okay.
It's going to nourish those people that we despise as well.
Yeah.
This is where that line before, the greatest beings seek out those who help identify their faults. You have to nourish war and famine and pain, because without those things, you might not know your whole self.
Wow. Yeah.
You have to. You nourish all related things, not just the things that you think you want to nourish. That's selfish. That's not humble.
No. I was thinking more about it like that the things that are in my life or that I see around me or that I come across or, things that step into my life, that those, whatever that might be, that nourishing element of care, in sensitivity, in that way, nourishing everything. But you're saying it in a bigger way, and I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't get to pick and choose. It nourishes all related things. And don't forget, a warmonger, an individual warmonger, or arms dealer, or whatever. They're human, and they require nourishment as well.
And I've been thinking about that idea that our thoughts are our children, and realizing that sometimes they haven't grown up and they're still full of emotion
Right.
and anger and blah, 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 blah. And,
Yeah.
and that as the mother of these children, we will love them anyway, and things will change, I guess. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. When you nourish them, they get this. This is the whole thing about the Tao, right? The Tao talks about the idea of like, well, when you experience something, you correct yourself. And not everybody's going to do that in the same way, and then it's going to move on. And don't forget, like the next line, which hints at this idea that like it's not just what you want to support. To be centered in Tao is to nourish all related things, not to interfere or meddle in the errors of others.
Mm-hmm.
When you say, oh, I'm going to nourish you and you're going to make peace, you're interfering.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting your ideas.
Right.
You allow them to receive this nourishment. Trust them to do what's best for everybody. Now, when I say what's best for everybody, you know just as well as I do that your relationship ended for the best for you and your friend.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily, like someone could say, oh, the relationship ended. That's quote unquote bad. That's not nourishment, actually. What you do with it. Like, I could put nourishment in front of you and you can throw it all in the garbage. What you do with the nourishment I present to you that's your responsibility and that's your job. Like I can't lead a horse to water, can't make it drink.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's it. That's the one. A thing of that, not trying to influence other people's journey. They've got their own thoughts, their own ways of dealing with things in the world, and not to interfere with that process.
Right. And love that. Oh my God. You can even look at your friend and be like, you think I'm looking, I'm not being kind. You think I'm not, and that's interesting. Like, I don't have to understand that. I don't have to be caught up in it, but wow. All right. Well, then I'm going to assume that you don't want to hang out with me because of the way you see me. I also don't want to hang out with you because of the way I feel, or I feel like I'm being seen in front of you. Now, I walk away and I go, I'm being seen that way. That's interesting. Or what I think she's thinking this. That's interesting. And then I get to see more about myself. This is the humility. You step into it with humility, not judgment. You don't say, you're thinking this. You say, I'm feeling this. I'm having this experience. And so I can step away. That's the greatest being. Seek out those who can help identify their faults. She just helped you identify your fault. What a great gift.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh, so beautiful. And you can just love her even more. And you'd be like, I'm never going to see you again. And I love you even more than I ever have.
I think she was also jealous that I was getting a relationship with her dog. I think she was upset with me for that too, because I was being really, really friendly with her dog, and her dog was loving me, and I think she was upset about that.
Yeah. And then there's jealousies and other things like that. And remember, when we see it, I wonder where jealousy fits in my life. That's beautiful, right? Like, cause that's the error, right? Like the error is like, I know what she's thinking or whatever. Yeah. It's just like, come back to me. Always, oh man. And then when I can love that within myself, when I can love my own jealousy, then I can love you even more. Yeah. Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah. Well, she has got a big house with lots of beautiful things in it, and it's magnificent. She's made it that way. But yeah, I'm not jealous so much as
no, of course, yeah. No, I mean, but it might not be. Choices. It might not have anything to do with her. It might have something to do with 7-year-old you and a doll. Who knows where that is hanging out.
Thank you, Martin John.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll chat again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Welcome back. 2 days in a row.
Sometimes you'll get me a couple of days and then
So what's going on? How did everything sit from yesterday?
it sat well, and I realized how much of a mirror I am, because I thought I was a chameleon. I would shift whenever the color of the room changed or the environment changed, I felt like I was shifting because of that. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's it. I'm coming to realize that's not it. I truly am a mirror when I sit still.
Yeah, that sitting still is such a big part of it, because when you get active, you start really putting your, just like you. I've noticed for myself. I'm just going to chime in here for a sec. I've noticed when I do a thing, like this morning when I exercised, and it's been happening recently, I take 3 to 5 minutes and I just sit when I'm done doing a thing. Like even when I'm done with this show, before I do anything, I just sit and I stare in quiet. And it's like that stillness. It's like that stillness and integration, like number 16, where it's like we look at that idea of like, that's maturing. Like you're allowing things to integrate. But stillness is such a big part of life, and we have reduced life to some degree to productivity.
Yes. And in that just kind of sitting there, I realized a lot about how long I've been a mirror and what it meant, because as many times as I've heard, you're thinking this, and I'm like, wait, I didn't even think about that.
That's right.
That's a new one. Where'd that come from? And then I had to look at myself like, wait, where in me does this show up? Because it's popping up on the radar for something. Mm-hmm. It's giving me some sort of feedback, because all of my life is like data, feedback, and kind of just tuning to really listen and adjust to it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. That's cool. Oh, I see this too. Yeah. But one of the things that the little me, I had to have a conversation with the little me for a little while, like, hey, what you got going on? Right. It was the idea that you're a brat. And I was like, wait a minute. If I've been a mirror this long and I'm not a chameleon, where do they feel like they need to go up against authority? And what about me makes them think that I can go against authority? And I just had to sit there for a moment, like, hold on, wait. What you feeling? What's going on? Let's communicate here. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that's really weird. But in like the weirdest way possible, that connection shows up. Like the lesson itself shows up, like, well, damn. Maybe they did feel caged. And because I said no, that made me a brat. Because you're supposed to follow authority.
So let me ask you, what defines a brat? What is a brat in your mind?
In my mind, is somebody that goes against conceived notions unless it's fully explained.
Unless it's fully explained. Mm-hmm. So if it's fully explained and they go against it, what are they then?
Good question. Maybe somebody with good sense.
So it could be, like, this is my terminology, it could be said you're a contrarian.
That's what I've been called. Can you define it?
Contrarian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's someone who goes against the common, the traditional, simply because it's traditional.
Oh, then no. Because I have a...
So, like what's important in terms of like getting to the core of like what's going on is your, when you say you've been called a brat and you look at being called a brat, and that is the thing that means, how could you not be a brat? And it looks like to me that it's the idea of like, well, you don't know any different, and so you do a thing. You buck the system because you don't know why the system is in place. So you challenge the system.
Yes, because I challenge for understanding.
Right. Okay. So you're challenging to understand. And once you understand, what do you challenge anymore?
No. It's usually the only time that I get like that is if I'm truly frustrated and nobody's explaining anything. And I'm like, okay, you want me to do this thing, but you won't define this thing. You're going to tell me, no, not like that. No, not like that. No, not like that. I'm like, so what do you want me to do? And
And
then
that's, and I would, and so there's lots of things like that, lots of things, especially for children, right? For children, because children don't this is what I said. You got to do it because I said to do that, right? And it's just like, yeah, but why? Why did you say it? Well, I said it because I said it, and then it's just this circular logic. That doesn't ever make sense. And then it's so ultimately, what I'm saying is like, somebody tells you, I want you to live under my influence. And you say, well, okay, I understand that you want me to live under your influence, but why? And it's like, well, because it'd be easier for me. And it's just like, yeah, but why for me? Like, what about this for me? Like, why should I live under your influence? And so you pick a number. At this moment. This is the moment that I want you to pick a number.
Let's do 18.
18. Out of touch with Tao. And this is so important. This is such a beautiful verse for this. When out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. Etiquette. Let's think about that word, etiquette, right? Like, you have to do what I said because I am your parent, because you are the student, because you are the child. And so etiquette follows that. When out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. That's what your parents and teachers and other people when you were younger were relying on. They were relying on etiquette, and they said, you have to abide etiquette. Abiding etiquette means that you don't ask me why. You just shut up and do it.
Yeah.
When etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. So the excuse on the part of your parents is that you're a brat. Your fault. That you're not abiding etiquette. When excuses gut the family, chaos favors the hierarchy. The hierarchy being the disciplinarian is the person either on the top of the hierarchy or the person that is above the disciplinarian, the person that controls the disciplinarian. And so when you say no, and then they say you're a brat, and then you say, yeah, but still no, and then you get in trouble, chaos favors the hierarchy. When all the neighbors are in chaos, meaning when everybody in your community is favoring the hierarchy, blind loyalty to the hierarchy, whether that's in the family or in the community or in the city or in the country or in the world, blind loyalty is demanded. And so your question at the beginning of why is not abiding blind loyalty. Is not you're not honoring the hierarchy. You are not conceding to etiquette. And so you are the problem.
Okay. Because I understand that hierarchies exist, but I don't respect them when they use knowledge as a way to control people.
Right.
I'm like, so give the information freely or hush. Like, just shut up.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't rebel against things that are explained to me. If you tell me why I should do this, I'm like, okay, I can integrate that. But why?
If it makes sense, that if you're just like,
Right.
right, no, like you don't blindly do something. You aren't following simply etiquette.
Because etiquette doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Why should I do this? Why should I, wash my hands after using the bathroom so you don't get germs? Oh, okay. Now
Yeah.
I'm not going to get sick. I'll wash my hands. Okay, I get it. Why should I not put my elbows on the table? Again, because, like germs, whatever. Okay. Well, then I'll do that. Why should I, not slap you in the face? Because I'm gonna slap you back. And it's like, oh, okay, I see that. Right? Like, so, or I will sue you, or whatever it is. It's like there are consequences that I don't know about, and I'm asking you to inform me of what are the consequences of me doing this. Now, that puts me in a position of gambling. Like rolling the dice and saying like, well, if this is because like, if it's like, oh, well, if you cheat on me, I'll break up with you. Well, you're not that great of a boyfriend anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and cheat on you and no big deal, and it's like, but is that, that's not how you want to live your life. You want to live your life in terms of not doing things simply because you can handle the consequences. You want to do things that are good for you. And so it's just like, oh, I don't care what the consequences are. I don't care about the etiquette. I care about what I want to be doing, and I care about what is good for me. And as you establish that, once again, you become in touch with Tao. You have that feedback that we were talking about with 61 when Spring Blossom, the idea of just like, oh, I'm experiencing something, and then I'm growing, and then I'm experiencing, and then I learn the why I want to do certain things.
Yes, because you brought up a simple scenario that applies to life for me. Is you're in a relationship with somebody, but you don't have their definition of it. Like in relation to people, why, if I ask why, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be mean. I simply want to understand your rationale so I can better suit if I feel like.
Right.
If it feels right, I will better suit that. But if everything is vague and every concept that you give is you should know, or if I say why and you be like, I don't have to explain why. Now I'm confused and I don't know what parameters are because, you push against boundaries once they're set. But if there's no boundaries set, can you really be upset about the experience?
Right. Well, and that's it. Well, one, yes, you can be upset about the experience. The thing that you can't do, or the thing that I don't have to abide, is caring. I don't have to care that you're upset about the experience. You have the right to be upset about the experience. You have the right to make me the victim of your pain, and good on you. Go ahead and do that. But I don't have to care. Once I care, now there's something for me to learn. Because now I'm triggered because I care. Now that I'm triggered, I have something to look at with myself. Looking back at number 68 being great, right? That idea of like, oh, this is a feedback loop. You're showing me myself. You're upset. What is that? And that upsets me versus you're upset and I don't give a damn. And I don't give a damn not because I don't love you. I love you deeply. But there's no reason for you to be upset. Right.
Oh, okay. Now that is a good clarifier. Because why would you care unless there's
Right.
something you got to look at.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Because it's always been something where I care deeply all the time, and I always felt like I was just too sensitive for everything. And I'm like, where is this? Where does this sit at? Like, what
Uh-huh.
part of the body is this?
You dropped out, so please come back up, yeah. Go
So,
on.
like, where in the body is this bothering me? And it's kind of scary to not give a damn. Like, I'm scaring myself because I'm like, fuck it. Like, that's your.
There is a difference between nihilism and not caring, because like there is deep love when you there can be deep love without caring. Like I don't care. Like when I've talked about this before, when I go in to talk to intensive outpatient programs and stuff, and I'm like, look, I don't care about your sobriety. Now, if they rely on me caring, they would only rely on me caring about their sobriety if they wanted to manipulate me. If I don't care about their sobriety, they can't manipulate me. They can't use their sobriety against me. Right? Because a lot of people that are addicts are like, how are you going to make me suffer? It's like, oh my God, I'm making you suffer. I'm not making you suffer. Like, I know that. Like, that's on you, bitch. So this is the difference between not caring and like nihilism not caring, right? Not caring in a loving way where it's like, I love you. And, oh, you're going to commit suicide? Oh, that sucks, but okay. It's like, wait, but I need you to be emotionally invested in that. Well, but that's your choice, yeah? I wouldn't want to change your ideas of what you need to do. And I know that can be a triggering thing, and I'm sorry for anybody that might be getting triggered by that. But it is true that I can't, it's not my call.
And you know what? I find it quite comforting that, like, I love you, but I don't care.
Right.
That is absolutely, because being forced to change my choices based on the influence that I was under was like hell. I'd rather just make a choice that may seem bad to you because of the judgment of said choice and just exist. Like the freedom of just existing sometimes, because there's a mantra I have in my head a lot of the times. Like, I don't know if it's going to be okay, but I got people to love in the meantime.
Right.
And that's just like, okay, that's comforting. It may turn out absolute shit, but make a decision.
And I don't, and whether you make a decision or not isn't my call. And I don't get to say that. I'm going to, and this is what we were talking about when we were talking about 61. It's like, when I follow Tao, when I love myself, if we just turn Tao into love yourself, right? When out of touch with love with yourself, you observe etiquette. You observe etiquette because you don't love yourself and you don't trust yourself. So the etiquette is be nice. The etiquette is support other people. The etiquette is do what other people want you to do. The etiquette is, get a job. The etiquette is do all of these things. But you're only doing those things because you're out of touch with loving yourself. So if we just change Tao to love yourself, when out of touch with loving yourself, etiquette is observed. Then, when etiquette cannot be abided, you find excuses to make it proper. You just get further and further and further from loving yourself. But when you love yourself, you love others. And when you love yourself, you trust yourself to do the right thing. And you don't abide etiquette. You don't try to be seen as anything other than you are. And you respect other people to be who they are and to not see them for who they aren't, and to not judge the actions that they take in their lives. If they're addicts, you can say, "Oh, I love you. I can't put myself in, in tight proximity to you because that puts me in danger, and I'm not willing to do that." I mean, maybe you are, but maybe you're not. And you don't have to care if they're out there struggling because you're still loving them. You can be like, he's like, "I'm homeless." And it's like, okay, I'm sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about that because of the situation that we find ourselves in. And if they're like, "How are you going to make me sleep on the street?" I'm not the one doing that. Right? I'm not letting you sleep in my house, but I'm not, I'm not the one making you sleep on the street. And I love you. I love you. And I know that in that moment when you are so wrapped up in the chaos that you can't see my love, but it doesn't mean it's not there. And I know that can be hard for some people because they're like, "But this is what love looks like." And I'm not a tough love advocate. I'm a love advocate, but I'm also an advocate of sometimes that looks tough. Sometimes that looks crappy. Sometimes that, from certain perspectives, that is crazy, loving someone in that way. I get it. But it's, but when you love yourself, you can love them more than when you're abiding etiquette.
That makes a lot of sense because I oftentimes joke about I love me more than I love you. And it's something that I seriously feel like I'm the center of my own universe. Like I love me.
We all are. Yeah. And the thing is when you can love yourself unconditionally in this way that Tao talks about, that the Tao Te Ching talks about, you love other people unconditionally as well. And that means, if you're self-sabotaging yourself, I love that as well.
Because it's going to get you where you need to go, regardless of if I have my hand in it or not.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. It makes sense. Because I have my moments where I'm just like, you know what? I love you, but fuck you at the same time.
Well, yeah. And it's like, and I can love you so much more when I respect myself and I'm not just abiding etiquette. When I respect myself and I love myself, right? And loving myself, and the language of how can you let me, or how can you make me, how can you, it's like, I'm not the one doing it. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but you're the one living your life.
Yeah, you're the only person in the body.
Right, so and I love you. And it's like, well, yeah, if you loved me, you would do this. And I was just like, don't define how I'm supposed to love you. I'm going to love you in the way I need to love you. And this is an argument for so many people. If you loved me, then you would.
That is something that has been jammed down my throat for thousands.
That's etiquette. Right. That's etiquette. Everybody that observes etiquette wants you to observe etiquette as well, because I have to do this. Well, you don't have to. That's you. You decided to do that. It's just like, well, I didn't have a choice. Well, you did. You just didn't see it. You didn't see a way of making a choice. That's not my problem. And I'm not gonna take my life. I'm not gonna take time out of my life to show you where you have a choice. You will see that you have a choice eventually. Maybe this interaction you and I are having are showing you have a choice. Now you can struggle with that. Now you can struggle with the idea that you have a choice that you never thought you had. And you can be mad at your parents for not giving you a choice and all of that. And eventually find that, you know what? Your parents did the best that they could. You did the best that you could. And correct This goes back to 61 that we were talking about. Correct the master, to the best of their ability. All great beings realize when they err. Once you realize when you err, right? Once you realize that, oh, I didn't know I had a choice. I have a choice? Oh my God. Once you realize you err, having realized it, they admit it and correct it to the best of their ability. That doesn't mean it's over. You just correct it to the best of your ability at this point. And that's it.
That makes steps actionable.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I'll look at something and I'm like, okay, that's the best thinking I had right then. All right, let's see where we're going with this.
Right. And that's where I talk about iteration. You just iterate on yourself every day. It's like, oh, you made a mistake. Correct it. Oh, you messed up again somewhere else. Correct it. To the best of your ability. That means like, oh, I ate 17 Oreos and tomorrow you eat 16. That's a correction. It's okay. Like, if you eat 22 the next day, it's like, oh, that's a bigger error. I wonder if that error is different than the other one. And then you just keep iterating. You just keep growing as you are, without having to observe etiquette, without having to, make excuses for who you are or what you do. You love yourself. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse for doing what you do. You did it. That's it.
That's all.
That's it. You did it. And you stand by doing it. Or you don't. And if you don't stand by doing it, take note. Take note that you don't stand by doing it. And be like, oh, I don't like that I did that. Back to the old conversation. I don't like that I did that. Well, I'm going to do it until I don't, and then iterate little by little by little. See, and if you pay attention, you can make a little change every day, and in a week be a different person.
I'm noticing that.
Yeah,
because
but you got to pay attention.
I was stuck in anger for about 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, it's getting a little better. All right, we're getting a little better. All right, take the focus off of this. Maybe it'll get a little better. We'll focus on this. Okay, it's getting a little better. All right. We're calming down. And today, at work last night, I was without anger. I was like, okay, I see you. If I allow you to just be as is and love it as it is and let it go until it doesn't, that kid grows up. Mm-hmm.
You're the mother of those experiences, right? Like like there's that old adage of like, it's the wolf that we feed that survives. And it's like, it's true. It's very true. It is true. It's like, it's the one that we focus on. It's the one that we pay attention to. It's the one that we give attention to. And so, that's why it's great to do those pauses, to stop, to be still. Because those stillness moments give us just enough pause to be like, am I pointing my energy in the right direction? Because if I am, then I'm going to iterate and grow and change and all of this.
Yeah, I noticed I would just worry about stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are you actually worried about?
Yeah.
What is actually bothering you about this scenario? Is it the fact that you can't control the scenario, or you don't understand what's going on in the scenario?
Right.
Like, what is this? And I just sit there for a moment, and then I look, and then I'm like, oh, okay, let's see it now. All right, let's write about that, because I spend more time writing than I do anything nowadays.
Good.
It's just like,
it's writing and it is meditation, and what we do, whether we write or we do crafts or whether we do whatever it is we do, we're doing it so that we can grow. So we're doing it so that we can be still. Like, that's stillness, and we can just hear our thoughts. Because like when we're inundated with work, when we're inundated with media, when we're inundated with all of this stuff, it's like we're constantly filling space. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just to have a little bit of space. It's like, oh man, how nice just to be able to stretch just for a moment.
Yeah.
It's
It's
good.
like, it's a good place. It's an interesting place because I have to look at everything in pieces until it comes together as a whole story. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you had a choice there. You couldn't see it because influence. Okay. So what we doing now? Are we telling people hell no, or are we going to keep going? Like,
Right.
are you going to do it or are you not? In the South, we say barbecue or mildew. Like, what are you going to do? Are we going to take some action or are we going to leave it?
Thank you. It's always so beautiful to connect and so deep, like all of these conversations with both Spring Blossom and You Wandering Fool. Thank you so much for joining me for 61 and 18. For everybody that's listening, I hope you I hope you understand that although these conversations can't necessarily be translated directly to your experience, I hope that you can see ways in. I hope that you can understand that there is a way into this conversation and there is a way into this mindset, because your experience is going to be wholly different than everybody else's. And there is a connection underneath everything, but we can only speak in words, especially on this app, right? And words are particular. They cannot express doubt. And so when you sit and you feel into that stillness inside yourself, that's when that direction can come. If you're interested in connecting with me, you can do so through the links in my profile. Today, I will be posting this on my podcast, Tao of the Day. I don't know. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. It doesn't really have any rhyme or reason. Just sometimes I feel good about something and I want to invest a little extra time and energy into it to put it out there. So if you are interested in hearing some of these, you can hear them here on Noon Vibe. All of them are listed. But on Spotify, you can check out Tao of the Day by me, and you can hear selected things. I don't edit them or anything, so they're whole. So anything you hear here, you'll hear there. But if you know people that could benefit from some of this conversation, you can send them over to the Tao of the Day podcast on Spotify, so that which I'm sure the link is in my profile as well, so that they can enjoy the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching as well, even if they're not on Noon Vibe. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.